Great. Well, welcome everyone. My name is John Walicki, and I'm a IBM developer advocate. As part of my role, I speak at conferences, I run meetups, I mentor at hackathons, I build tutorials and workshops. As a developer, I write code. My expertise is IoT, Edge, AI. I do quite a bit of programming in the IBM cloud. And so what I'm going to do today is talk about call for code. And I'd like to share my screen, Calvin. So let me do that first so we can get some slides up instead of just me as a talking head. And hopefully you see desktop one. Okay, so let's talk about call for code. Those of you that are not familiar with call for code, so it is IBM's 5-year, $30 million Tech for Good project. This is not the first year. This is actually the third year of IBM's call for code. We started in 2018, and we've, as part of our hackathon, so it runs through the spring, and then we announce our winners in October. So $200,000 prize, which we'll introduce you to. In the first 2 years, the theme was natural disasters, because look around the world and natural disasters from earthquakes and hurricanes and tornadoes. You've got flooding and all sorts of water-related storm events that have really devastated the world and really impacted humanity in many different ways. So the first 2 years were open-ended, and we had 200,000 developers come and join us, thousands of projects, and out of that we picked a winner in 2018. We picked another winner in 2019, and now just last week we announced the themes for 2020, and that's what I'll talk about today. So let's get started. So first, I don't think anyone could not look around and realize that the world in the pandemic that we're facing, the societal shutdown and lock-in that's affecting all of us. Here in New Jersey, it's very close to home. Many of my friends here in town, over 30 different residents, but more close, 4 of my close friends are affected. So it's really close to home. And those of you probably across the United States and across the world will know that we're still on an exponential climb here in the US. And it's going to be scary for some time forward. So IBM in the last couple of weeks has really pivoted our theme, because the primary theme was going to be climate change and will still be climate change, but COVID-19 is by far the most pressing issue of our time today. And so what we've done is we've pivoted the call for code program, but we're going to do it in a different way. We're not going to wait until October, because we believe that the projects over the next month will be really critical to helping around the problem, and we'll get into that. So call for code theme, COVID-19. We really are looking for, so we've got a number of projects, and I'll introduce you to starter kits in a moment, but I want to actually talk about what the plan was for call for code, which was climate change, and is. So we're going to run dual tracks. So the climate crisis is really, if you look around the world, whether it's wildfires or hurricane, flooding events, we certainly see climate change as being the primary issue in the long term for this century. And we believe developers have a role to play in both topics. Now, let's talk about that, because whether it was natural disasters or climate change or COVID, as a developer, I looked around and what can I do? My skills are as a developer, as a programmer, as an IoT guy, they're so far removed from the firefighter out in the, fighting wildfires. So far removed from the first responders that are out digging through the rubble after natural disasters. So far removed from the nurses and doctors, on the front line of the COVID challenge, and really far removed from the climatologists and the weather experts. But we have superpowers. We have the ability through technology to go and affect and improve upon the challenges that we've got around these themes. And so we've been calling IBM and partners. We have the United Nations Human Rights Commission has joined us. We have a great partnership with the American Red Cross, the David Clark Cause, and the Clinton Foundation to really bring developers to this problem. And we've been out talking to universities and partners and enterprise customers about the challenges over the last 2.5 years. And so now why I'm here today is to challenge you to join the fight. And we really want developers to join the fight with us. So climate change, and we'll get into some of the themes in climate change in a moment. So we've got these two, and they really are the most pressing issues of our time. So what do we need today? And as I was framing the conversation with our executives, and I've done a couple of events now around the COVID challenge, there are medical professionals and vaccine researchers that are out, doing lab work to discover drug discovery and actually produce vaccines. You and I, as a developer, don't have access to that. So we're going to leave the medical research to the experts in academia and in commercial enterprises, and instead we're going to focus on really the surrounding it. How can we improve crisis communications? How can we build applications that connect communities? And how can we improve the remote learning experience? All of us, my daughters, 2 from college, 2 from high school, are here with us in a home, and we've all separated into different parts of the house, but all remote learning. And so the third starter kit is around remote learning. So crisis communications, really about chatbots and disseminating trusted information to reduce the fake news and the fear. Can we find the trusted sources and communicate those trusted sources to our communities, make it hyper-local when necessary. And then remote learning, I talked about how do we enable educators, and maybe you and I have skills to teach. There's a great example of it today here on the Indy Cloud Conference of remote learning. Hopefully you'll catch something and pick up the cause with me. So we want to be able to do remote learning and remote education for our students around the world. And then the last one is how do we connect our communities, supply chain. And we all have run out of to the store. Hopefully you've not yet run out of toilet paper, but if you do, you might need an app to connect with your neighbors. And so we've got an app with a map and a chat bot and a whole set of services to help you with that. I'm going to come and drill down into those 3 in a moment, but I wanted to also talk about climate change and the starter kits that we think you could help us with in climate change. So water sustainability. We look around and those of you that are affected by drought, it instantiates itself through wildfires or reduced crops, or especially in the Midwest and the crop yields. How do you plan for that? How do you, whether you're in the heartland of America or if you're on the coastal floodplains, water is a huge topic. And then the second theme for Call for Code climate change this year is around energy sustainability. How do we go attack the problem at its core, which is our overuse of fossil fuels that's raising the temperature of the planet? and if we can redirect to other sources, or if we can go and educate consumers to reduce their consumption of energy, then that would be a benefit as well. And then the third topic around disaster resiliency is how do we remember our 2 prior years, bring that disaster resiliency and disaster response into the climate change issue, because many of the problems that natural disasters, we can't stop them. They're going to happen, but we should, and maybe we can mitigate and prepare for and support the first responders and the survivors after a natural disaster. So those are the 6 starter kits. Encourage you all to join the fight, because I think it needs everyone to step forward and become part of the solution. All right, so I'm going to drill down into some of these now. So let's go take a look at the crisis communication. So chatbots and SMS messages, getting the right information to developers, remote education, right? So remote learning platforms. How do we engage students? We've actually got a set of microservices that you might want to start to build with in Call for Code. And then community cooperation, weather data, supply chain data, blockchain, mobile app, mapping data, all fit into that category. On the water sustainability and climate change topic, so water quality, crop quality, and all the data science around it, so big data science problem for in many of these topics. Energy, obviously using AI and IoT being a big topic, and sort of why I got invited into some of these themes. So we want you to solve them. So we've had some previous winners, which I'm going to introduce you to. So last year, Team Prometeo, team from Spain in Barcelona, they proposed a project to instrument firefighters with a small device. It attached to their turnout coat, and it monitored their heart conditions and their temperature they were exposed to, and all the toxins and smoke as they were trying to fight the wildfires. And so what they did with this device attached to their turnout coat was to send all that data to the cloud. And now we've got a history of all of the exposure that particular firefighter was exposed to. And we can look back over their history of firefighting and maybe do a longitudinal study and help them throughout the next several years understand what illnesses and diseases they might be susceptible to. So really important there around understanding and supporting our firefighters. So $200,000. And so what's interesting about Call for Code, it's not just a prize, a hackathon and a prize that maybe you win and then you go off and split it among your team and you go back to your day job. What Call for Code does is it takes the winning teams and we bring our second part of the program, which is called Code and Response. And Code and Response works with that team. Often they've now become startups, both Prometeo and Project Owl, I'll tell you about, became startups. And they are now in the implementation and deployment phase. So IBM, as part of our promise, is we will go help you take your idea, your best ideas, and bring them to society and make a change. And so we've rallied IBMers to support these 2 teams. And as we will in 2020 is with the COVID challenge and with climate change, is turn those best ideas into product implementations to go help the world. So a long-term commitment to see this through and bring it forward. So it's not just a one and done, take your check, split it amongst your team, but it's a long-term effort called Code and Response. And I happen to be really first amazing team and an amazing set of IBMers encouraging and fostering and mentoring and bringing our expertise to their problems and seeing them be successful. Project OWL, right after, remember 2017 was the Hurricane Maria down in Puerto Rico, but 2018, the team there proposed a communications network, especially when all the power lines and cell towers were down, internet was disconnected. And so they built a small set of IoT mesh devices that built a Wi-Fi mesh and shared basically a hotspot that you could use a mesh ultimately to connect back to some central resources. So very clever. They called them ducks, and they put you'll see maybe later if I've got a screenshot, little ducks that they put out in the environment around Puerto Rico. All right. So we also, and I want to talk about drones because I'm a drone guy, and this particular one, it's called. It was really great, and we helped the team with some object detection, and with a small drone, you fly the drone around looking for survivors, and what was happening was people in Puerto Rico were writing in chalk on the street and on their rooftops, help, they need water, they need food, they need supplies, they need medical attention. And so as part of this effort called Drone Aid, we built an object detection model that you ran on the drone and the laptop, where as you flew, you might, and hopefully you guys see this. So I've got a bunch of symbols. And I do this live in the audience, and I fly my drone over to the posters here, and you can put this on the ground. You can put it up on your house or on your rooftop, and we would see the symbols and then connect that information back to the first responders. So a very clever use of AI, IoT information, and a set of symbols working with a team in Puerto Rico. That was fun. All right. And I just encourage you guys to answer the call. Join us at callforcode.org and IBM developer, which is developer.ibm.com/callforcode. And so our challenge starts yesterday or last week, sorry. And the actual project part of it ends in the end of July. And then we announce the winners in October at the United Nations in New York City, if we ever open again. United Nations in New York City, great gala event. Then we announce who the $200,000 prize winner is. All right, so let's actually do some live demo because that's what I would much prefer to do. And so there's Project OWL and their ducks. There's Project Prometeo and their firefighter colleagues. And what I really want to do is go back to our challenge. So our challenge, remember the two themes. What we did is we built starter kits because the first year we said, here's the challenge, natural disasters. And we kind of described the problem and we let people go for it. And at all different levels, developers came and said, well, what do I build? How do I build it? And there was a little bit of confusion on where to start. And so what we did last year and what we're doing this year is we're building starter kits to kind of build and develop. So I did 2 of the starter kits, one for climate change and one for COVID, and I'll introduce you to those. What we wanted to do was help that developer, help that team stand on the shoulders of some giants and say, here's a template, here's a Git repository, we've talked to subject matter experts, we've started to do the data science and the IoT device and help you with that. And so the starter kit, so let's dive into them. Scroll down to our starter kit. So crisis communications, education, and community. So I worked on a crisis communications chatbot, which we've just completed. And we built a chatbot for you using Watson Assistant and which is NLU, and we brought in Watson Discovery. So here's a little, we've got quite a few architecture diagrams. So we built a website. We show you how to build a website that has a chatbot on it, and it talks to news sources and the COVID API to pull in real-time statistics from Johns Hopkins. We should use trusted data sources. So the CDC FAQs we turned into a chatbot. We integrated that chatbot with Slack. We put it on a web page. We did integration with Node-RED. I'll show you that one. And I actually built a little voice. You talk to it and it responds. Okay. And so let's actually go do that. So we've got some tutorials that you can go and read all the steps that you might do in the crisis communications problem. So there's a tutorial on how to build the chatbot and import the intents and entities, so you can ask it a question and it knows responses. Now, what's really interesting about the Watson Assistant chatbot, because it uses natural language understanding, you don't have to say the question exactly. It understands through a set of machine learning around NLU and text analytics what you mean. And so and we train it on your questions. You give us a bunch of questions and we kind of build an entity around that. So you can ask everyone, whether you're from the South or the North, or if you're from Boston, or, hey, I'm a Long Islander, so I drop into my Long Island accent sometimes. We all ask the question a little differently. And so the chatbot will understand. And I'll give you a demo in a moment. And then we took that core chatbot and we put it on a web page, and we put it inside of a Slack bot, and we put it in a Node-RED flow. So let's go check it out. So here it is. It's running as a little integration. And what is coronavirus? Maybe I should have hit refresh. There we go. And you get back. Oh, it didn't work. Did it work? No, it didn't work. You just hit refresh there. I think I loaded that page this morning. How many people are infected? Yeah, so now it went out to the API and it brought back how many cases are infected in the US. Okay. And then, so I did the same thing here in, so you can ask it, what are the symptoms of COVID? And it'll go and, tell you what the symptoms are. So we built 39 different chats, Q&As, to kind of clever. So here's one, same thing. So the base capabilities, those of you that are not familiar with Node-RED, Node-RED is our visual programming technique. I've got a palette of nodes, and in particular, we've got a palette of Watson nodes. And so I'm going to take advantage of Watson speech to text, Watson Assistant, which is going to call our chatbot, and then text to speech, and we're going to ask a question and play it back. So, and over on the right side, you'll see the responses, and you'll hear it hopefully through the line here. How many people are infected with COVID? I should have said coronavirus. Let's see. Great demo. I loaded this about 2 hours ago. It's not going. Never mind. All right, then we also built a web page. So this is a web page, and you can actually, so it's sort of interactive. You can see. There have been 579,888 total confirmed cases of COVID-19. Okay, that was a little slow. Maybe the API was slow to go query that. What are the symptoms of coronavirus? Now you obviously can now build a little chat bot around this. So it's nice to have a voice. You can add language translation maybe. Anyway, so a great starter that you could go and take advantage of. All right, so that's the chat. I know I'm going to run out of time, so I wanted to drill down and do two more. So I wanted to show you the some of the others because they might be of. So if you don't want to build a chatbot, you might want to build a remote education service. And we've got a number of, how to build a microservice set of education components. So we built a quiz app using Loopback and Node.js. We built a touch. I'm going to turn that down. So it's maybe there's a speech to text. So as an educator, you might record a whole video. And so we wrote a tool that will do transcription. You upload the video, we give you back the transcript, and you would be able to put that transcript as your speaker notes and share that with your students as their classroom notes. And so we thought that was a clever starter kit that you could go and build a bigger solution around. And then the last solution was around using a set of open source projects to build a classroom. So Skills Network uses Big Blue Button as an open source project. And so that is our education topic. And then the last one, which was really cool, was our community cooperation problem. And they wanted to connect people that had a resource with someone who needed it. So if you needed medical supply or toilet paper is the big topic right now. Who my kids like, we're running out of what did we run out the other day? Nutella. It was a crisis in the Walicki household as we ran out of some hazel spread. All right, so you could go ask like who's got toilet paper, and they built an app that you could go and engage the app with a back end and a database, and you could now have a community app to connect what resources you might need. And we think that's going to be important as well. So those were 3 examples that you could use as your project. And there are water ones too I wanted to show you. So I also worked on one of my favorite topics is weather. And so I built the water sustainability one. And I built a weather station. I got a weather station on my roof. And I built a little weather dashboard, which does hyperlocal weather predictions. And the idea is you could help that farmer with the right soil recommendations, what crops to plant based on their hyperlocal weather. And you could take IoT sensors and put it in the soil, and it's a combination of the IoT sensor plus the weather and the weather forecast that lets you do a hyperlocal plan. So Calvin, I'm out of time, but I could keep going if you let me.
I wish I could, but with the big conference being virtual, there are folks joining from all over the globe. Although I do want to reiterate, I think this is an excellent opportunity for folks to get involved with your project. I don't know if I think there was a URL posted into the machine learning or the hallway track about the call for code. I would recommend everybody who's got a little time on their hand or want to volunteer and help out with any of these efforts to definitely go and check out John's project. I'm really excited you joined us here today for this.
Good. Thank you for inviting me. Look forward. So I'll do one quick plug because at 3:30 today, I'll come back and we will talk about where one of my passions is. So it's IoT sensors, from sensors to insights. And so we'll take an IoT board and we will connect it to the IBM cloud and look for insights in our data.